only as good as we are able to diagnose which of those issues is happening and then treat it appropriately. And the other thing I would say is, as you touched on, is there's no doubt that we're all struggling with suboptimal home offices and laptops and devices, and a lot of stress and impaired sleep, and all of those things certainly can lead to increased amounts of back pain.
Yeah, so it's certainly lots and lots of people. Ellen, why don't you explain what a physiatrist is? Because it's a term I think many people that are watching, we got people from all over the place watching, they may not know that term.
Yeah, so it is a little confusing term, but it's basically a physician who is basically a physician of function. So our job is to see a patient and figure out where they are not happy about their function, whether it's they can't walk the way they want, they can't train the way they want in their sport, or even more basic things like, after a major injury, then they're, having nerve pain or something else that's limiting their function. Then we identify what is the patient's goals. Is it to be able to run 10 marathons in a year? Is it to learn a new skill in a sport, or walk their daughter down the aisle in their wedding? And then our job is to figure out how to help them do that. And that's usually through exercise, but a lot of times we can add medications, some targeted injections, sometimes in the spine, as you mentioned. And so we try to do everything that's non-surgical to let the patient achieve their goals.
That's great overview. So of the different types of back pain, and then we're going to introduce Brittany here in a sec more. So Britt, you just keep smiling. In terms of the causes of back pain, I talked about muscular, discogenic, and bone as kind of broad categories.
Yeah.
What's the typical person? So the typical person I see with muscular back pain is the person going into back spasm. Oftentimes they talk about the pain coming on in a wave. Sometimes sitting makes it worse, bad posture. Is there any kind of things you've been seeing with muscular back pain that kind of jump out, especially this time of life?
Yeah, so I think the people that I'm seeing a lot of muscular back pain in are the people who maybe weren't as active pre-pandemic and have decided, hey, this is a time where I can be more active, trying new things. A lot of our, kind of favorite exercises are going to be lifting, twisting, rotating, riding a bike, if you will. And so those can cause muscular pain. They can also cause disc pain though. And so the two are a little complicated to tease out, but usually muscular pain is going to get better sooner. It'll be sore and stiff and tight, and then it's going to work itself out, especially as you move more. Disc related pain can hang around longer, and that's usually probably when you and I are seeing them, Jordan, when it's not getting better.
Yeah, that shooting pain into your feet. And so for people watching, if you're, the way we think about it, if you're starting to get pain shooting into your feet and your toes, that's definitely a time to come get it checked out, because there's different, as I showed even in the two people I saw last week, there's different reasons why that can happen. And you always want to figure out why, because if you don't address that, then that can sometimes cause, aside from a real pain in the leg and the butt and the back, sometimes can cause some weakness that goes on for a while. And then what about bone pain? So people don't think about arthritis, which we both see a lot of arthritis, a lot of arthritic knees as you do, and shoulders, but arthritis can also happen in the spine.
It can, and it's extremely common. So I like to tell patients that arthritis in the spine is like gray hair and wrinkles. We all get it at some point, at some, it's, more in some people and less in others. But if arthritis in the spine is in a particular place, then yes, it can cause back pain and it can cause leg pain. And the tricky thing is that since all of us over the age of 20 or so start to get some degree of spine arthritis, it's hard to know when we start getting pictures or the images what's really relevant. And so that's where we want to make sure that we're not getting images if we don't need them, but really then walking patients through, this is important and this is something everybody has, and really giving some education.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's actually one of the most common frustrations that I think the technology we have to get MRIs, particularly, and look inside people's knees and backs and shoulders, is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. But one of the frustrations is people get their report of, oh my God, I have a meniscus tear in my knee, or I have a herniated disc in my back. And what I always try and explain, which is why we always like to go over the pictures and the person at the same time, is because what it says on the report and what is relevant to your particular situation are sometimes not related at all. And there have been a number of studies at people with no symptoms at all who have meniscus tears or herniated discs in their back, and that may not be causing your pain at all. And you can become fixated on that, and that's often to your detriment. And that's why we want informed patients But that's why I think helping to go over those things in person is really valuable. So I think it's a great point.
It is, it is. And the one other thing I'll say about back pain is so often, as you know, people who like to exercise, we're always wondering, was it something I did in the gym, or I changed my workout, or I tried this new thing, did that hurt my back? And sometimes that's the case. But quite frankly, what's going on in your spine usually has even more to do with what you're doing between exercise. So even if you're training for, you know, an Ironman and you're doing a ton of exercise, but then you're sitting, you know, doing your work, sustained posture in this flex forward posture for hours and hours a day, that actually is going to have probably more ramifications for back pain, particularly disc pain, than even your awesome exercise that you're doing. And so, you know, the newer saying is sitting is the new smoking. And I wouldn't say it's as bad as smoking, but I will say that the more we can get people standing, moving throughout the day, it's really, really helpful for their spine.
So get off your butt, basically, which is a great segue to talk to Brittany, who is a kind of really somebody who I think helps our patients get up and move. So Brittany Mims, physical therapist and dance medicine specialist and Pilates teacher. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks. No, I appreciate you asking me to be here. I'm excited.
So first of all, tell us about that awesome, like you're in New York City, but you wouldn't know it. You look like you're in Fenway Park, or kind of not Fenway Park, but Wrigley Field behind you. So what's going on with that awesome ivy behind you?
So I work out of a clinic in Chelsea, and we are mostly like a wellness clinic. So when I opened up my clinic last year, I wanted to find a space that made you feel like it's a calming atmosphere, and we have Pilates equipment behind me, and we have a workout area, and then we also have private treatment rooms. So it's really a nice, you know, blend of things that people are looking for, especially in the type of patient that I mostly see. They want to be able to work out, and they also want to decrease their pain. So.
That's awesome. And so kind of listening to what we're talking about, I think the common ingredient between bone pain, disc pain, muscular pain is quite often that that people are either have lost strength or just are not strong enough to begin with. And so part of the process of, you know, Ellen or I can help diagnose the injury, reduce the pain of the injury, but then a big part of what we do fixing the injury so it doesn't recur is work on building strength. And I think that's where it's so important to have somebody that knows about strengthening the back. So tell us about the typical person you see. How weak are they, and what kind of things do you do to get them stronger?
So I am mostly a performing artist, PT. I work with dancers and athletes, and I work mostly with performers on Broadway. So for the most part, I see people who are doing repetitive motion, whether it's running or a certain track on a show or a certain dance number, and that repetitive motion is more of what gets to them. And I think that right now, because we went from, for instance, they were doing 8 shows a week to a complete standstill of everything. And I think that in all areas, we're kind of seeing that right now, to maybe doing webinars or doing something else where you're sitting all day long. A lot of my patients haven't been sitting for very much. And I think that to find that like perfect balance of stability and mobility is what I strive to do in my practice, which is why I love Pilates on top of manual therapy with it, because I think that it keeps you mobile, and then it also keeps you strong in the right muscles, kind of like what Ellen was saying too. You know, you want to stabilize and all that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who are watching that know about the history of Pilates, you may just know Pilates as something you see at the gym, but Joseph Pilates was a very famous and very forward-thinking guy who started the whole kind of Pilates concept, the idea of centrology, or strengthening the muscles around your middle, and end up kind of developing a certification. Spent a lot of time here in New York, and a lot of the kind of US-based Pilates comes from New York, and so people like Brittany have kind of studied and become certified in Pilates, and that's kind of a whole separate certification that she's done, and it's really valuable, I think, to do that. Brittany, before we kind of answer some questions about the back, can you explain the difference between kind of mat Pilates and kind of equipment-based or reformer-based Pilates?
So mat Pilates you can do on a towel, a mat, carpet, whatever you feel comfortable with at home. You can do assisted and resisted exercise with it with different props at home. But the thing that I love so much about the equipment with like a reformer or a Cadillac or a chair, it gives you those springs to either help make the exercise easier for you to be able to do to kind of get you out of that normal positioning. Or it can make it a lot harder because you have all of these springs and straps and bars to make it a lot harder. And I've had anyone from a professional dancer to my 94-year-old grandmother on a performer, and it really is a cool thing to see the entire lifespan, really. I mean, to be able, and ability level on these to get better. So
I love it. I love it. All right. So we're going to answer some questions here before we get into our Pilates session. So the first question, Ellen, is standing versus sitting desk. And do you have a preference on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the ideal thing is, if in a perfect world, one that can do either, so an adjustable, because there are going to be times where you want to sit and concentrate and other times where you want to break it up and stand. If you can only pick one, I would say get a standing desk and then have a stool where if you want to change it up and sit down, you know, you can do that, because truly the for your overall health, but also for your spine health, avoiding prolonged sitting, which really increases the pressure in those discs that Jordan was mentioning, are like marshmallows or jelly donuts. Over time, that pressure builds, and that's where you get this ongoing pain. So you've got to change it up because you have too much flexion usually in your life and not enough extension, which the standing desk will help with.
Yeah, that's great. Now, Brittany, let's say and go ahead, guys, please write in your questions just write in the chat. Just write them right in there and I'll read them out as we kind of get a couple minutes for questions. So Brittany, let's say I send a patient your way. It's got, you know, a little bulging disc, a little bit of shooting pain down the leg. We've got that under control. Why the heck would strengthening someone's back muscles help with their bulging disc?
you know, the thing that I love so much about Pilates is it really is all of the stabilizers in your core. We're not focusing on one area versus another. We're kind of working to stabilize, to increase your function no matter what you're doing. So if we can stabilize to the core, strengthen your glutes, which you guys will be doing today too, then it really helps overall function, daily living activities that you're doing, and all of that as well.
Okay, Alan, here's a patient who says, or a person that says, anonymous attendee, and please write your questions right in the chat if you can. I know normally I do Q&A. I'm switching over to chat. I think it works better. Any advice for someone with a herniated disc in the thoracic spine, has a little stenosis, but a lot of pain? Is that normal for a thoracic disc? So you can get a bulging or herniating disc. First, Alan, what's the difference between a bulging and a herniated disc and thoracic versus lumbar spine?
So that's a great question. So if you think about your marshmallow, if you just squish the marshmallow down and it's still the same, it kind of is symmetric all the way around, but it's just flatter, that's a bulging disc. If you squish that marshmallow or jelly donut hard enough that some of it, you know, pops out in a more focal area, that's a disc herniation. And they can both hurt, and they're really kind of on the spectrum of the same thing. So it's all, you know, changes that happen in the disc that can cause pain. Thoracic disc herniations and bulges certainly can happen. They're not as common as in the neck and the low back. And in some ways, they're a little harder to treat because the thoracic spine doesn't move as much as the other areas of the spine. So sometimes you have to work a little bit longer to do maybe some repetitive motion as well as some stability exercises to try to get the jelly back in the donut, if you will, and then really work on why it happened in the first place. So somebody's posture might be quite forward, or they're doing a lot of repetitive motion, as Brittany mentioned. But they definitely are treatable and can really respond to great exercise.
Now that jelly can really go back in the donut.
It can. So there have been a couple studies by a Canadian researcher, Stu McGill, who has taken pigs and given them disc herniations and then doing repetitive motion have demonstrated that that jelly does go back in. And we do see that in humans. We just don't obviously look in their disc. We look at the MRIs to see how they do.
All right, go. Thanks for the pigs. Brittany, questions here about hamstring flexibility as part of the contributing factor to back pain, and is that something you address and think about?
I definitely do. I think that if you're kind of like what we were talking about with stability and mobility, if you're really tight in one area, you might also be weak in that area too, or it might be pulling you into a different posture that isn't an ideal posture for you. For instance, if your hamstrings are really tight, it might pull you into a pelvic tilt in sitting, and then that can affect your back pain as well. So like I said before, I really try to find that balance between stability and mobility. And in a lot of my patients, if they have too much mobility and not enough stability, then we try and work on that as well.
Good answer. So Joseph asked a question about what should we think about when selecting a desk chair. Joe, I want you to go look at that webinar from last month on office ergonomics. We had actually one of our physical therapists from HSS who has a specialty in office ergonomics, and she did an awesome job. And it turned out I was actually making every single possible mistake. Same foot position and hands and neck and monitor. Ellen, do you do a good job? Are you better than me at that when you're doing telemedicine?
No, I do refer to the same person you're talking about to be able to give patients advice, because I think it is a really specific skill set. And telemedicine has been good for that too, because you really get a sense of where somebody's working from home.
Yeah, no, I think that's, and people don't think about that. Again, if it's somebody training for a marathon or somebody getting ready to play in a baseball game and be a pitcher, or somebody with back pain sitting home, the whole idea of kind of sports medicine as a concept is, figure out the injury, then figure out how we can get you back into your field of choice, be it, throwing a baseball, running a marathon, or sitting for work. And, I think office ergonomics is a piece of that, in addition to things like Pilates to build a lot of strength. Ava asked the question, Ava, who's been to almost every one of our classes in Central Park. Ava, good job, although we missed you last time. Ava has an elderly parent who's been sitting a lot and was afraid to go outside during COVID. Brittany, are you seeing people, I know your patient population is younger in your clinic, and Ellen as well, people talking about strength training, elderly people coming in talking about strength training, particularly as we start to see gyms opening up. And again, you're in a specialized area because you have one person in the space you are. I'll ask both you guys that same question.
I have a few patients who are older, who we've worked a lot on, even just ordering some TheraBands. Nothing that is, crazy. We're not talking about getting a full gym in their house, but I think that working on some mobility, making sure that they're still walking, maybe they don't feel comfortable leaving their house, but they feel comfortable going down and up the hallways, or maybe up and down a stair if they feel comfortable. I think that getting some TheraBands and doing some targeted work on posture and some stretching and mobility, I think is easy to do at home. I think that a lot of us are burnt out from doing stuff at home right now, but if you're able to do that, I think that it's a great tool.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing I love about my practice is I can see a 9-year-old and a 90-year-old, and everyone in between in any given day. And what I am seeing, people who haven't been moving as much especially the elderly population, because they were so worried to be outside and exposed. But the good news is there have been studies even of 90-year-olds in nursing homes who were given strength training programs, and they made gains in strength and endurance, reduced pain. So it is never too late.
Ivy asked the question about pain in the shin. Is it possible coming from the back? And Ivy, the answer is that's one of the weird things that we think about, is that sometimes back pain can refer down into the quads, into the hamstrings, into the shins, into the butt. And so people say, well, my back isn't that sore. It's more my shin or my quad. And sometimes a bulging or herniated disc that we showed in the beginning can shoot pain down into that area. And that's why we sometimes look for the cause of pain coming out of the back if we believe that that's where it's not always perfect, but that's one of the areas we will sometimes look at. Ellen, this idea of alignment, some people are writing in the Q&A about alignment. And is that something, it's a term that's thrown around, you're out of alignment, you're in alignment.
Yeah.
Is that something, what's your kind of comment? I don't mean to have you step on the hot coals there, but it's a laden term.
It's an important one. And I mean, I think the thing is, none of us are perfectly symmetric human beings. That's in our face, it's in our spine, it's in our pelvis, all sorts of, areas in our body. So really we need to figure out, is the, let's say, out of alignment, body part, is it causing an issue? If it's not, who cares? Leave it alone. But if it seems to be part of why there's pain or dysfunction, then there certainly are wonderful exercises, and Brittany could speak to this even more, about even you can learn to do yourself to restore some symmetry throughout your spine and your pelvis.
Terrific. All right, we got a ton of great questions. I mean, I said ask some questions, and now you won't stop asking questions, so that's awesome. But in the interest of time, I want to make sure we just finish by 8:30. So Ellen, I first want to say thank you so much for joining us and chatting. I'm going to move you to attendee so you can just you can put the mat out on that wooden floor and
Perfect.
get to it. All right. So Ellen, thank you so much.
All
And
right.
we
Thank
will
you all. Nice to see you.
let me see. Let me make sure if I can make you attendee. I don't know if I can. All right. So Ellen, I'm just going to log you. You can just log yourself right out. Let me see if I can. Yeah, you can just log yourself right out.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Brittany.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. So after talking about back pain, now what we're going to do is we're going to turn over to Brittany, and she's going to take us through a mat Pilates class, and everybody can start doing the same. Britt, the one comment is I can hear you, but I'd love a little more audio. So if you're going to go further back, if you get a little louder, that'd be awesome. And then so we'll just kind of turn it over to you, and we'll go forward. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Brittany Mims. Like I said before, I mostly do performing arts PT, and I'm certified in Pilates, so that's what we're going to do today. I'd like to start with some stretches, kind of how we talked about with Jordan and Ellen about getting us into a little more extension and finding some safe flexion that feels good for us. So find your mat, get on the floor. And then any exercise that we do today that bothers you or you don't feel super confident or you have questions about, just lie there, relax, take a few deep breaths, and we'll be moving on to something else soon. All right, so for now, I just want us to roll our shoulders back, deep breath in, and I want you to think about that your lower rib cage is what's expanding and coming back together. We don't want to be breathing just from the top of our ribs. So deep breath in, and roll the shoulders back, and forward. And as we're talking about ergonomics and proper desk position, workspace, a lot of us end up getting in this position, which shortens the back of the neck muscles. So we're gonna lengthen them by bringing your ear to your shoulder, and then coming all the way down toward chin towards chest, and then ear to the opposite shoulder. Come all the way down and around to the other side. You should be feeling that stretch on the side of your neck right now, and as your chin comes towards your chest, you should be feeling it through the back of your neck, and then the opposite side. One more time. Let's roll those shoulders forward a few times. And then I want you to grab your arms behind your back. Open up the chest, open up the pecs, and lean back looking at the ceiling. Bringing your arms down and away. That opposite motion of us sitting at our desk or our Zoom calls, looking at our phones, and then round forward. Deep breath in. On the exhale, let's open back up. And round. Throughout the whole class, I want you to be doing intentional movement, not holding your breath or taking deep breaths this whole time. Come into quadruped position. So hands are right underneath the shoulders, knees are right underneath the hips. We're going to come into an arched position here. I want you to spread your sit bones, feel your sternum coming down towards the floor, looking up. And then round the spine, looking up at your belly button. And again, you're arching your back. When you're here, try to feel that you have that articulation through each vertebrae, and that all of it is not coming from one segment. We're trying to find that mobility through the whole spine. And last time here. Come to that neutral position. We're going to thread the needle, so you're coming all the way down, shoulder to the mat. Deep breath in, reaching that left arm through, pressing into your right side. Deep breath. Right hand is pressing into the mat to bring you back up. And then the right arm goes all the way down and through, shoulder to the mat. Deep breath in. Pressing all the way back up. We're going to do it one more time to each side. Coming down and through, deep breath. And coming back up. Last time towards the left. And coming all the way up. I'll have you come lie on your side. I like to put my hands behind my head and relax my head on the floor, on my arm here. Knees are stacked. I want to make sure that your hips are on top of each other, your knees are on top, and we're going to do some open books. So you're going to open up towards the ceiling, feeling like you're wringing out a washcloth and coming all the way back in. And open up. And then you're trying to get that left shoulder onto the floor. So it's not just that your elbow is reaching behind you. I want you to feel that spinal mobility all the way through your spine. And then check your knees. I don't want them to be lifting up. Glue them together. Find that most of that motion is just in your spine and not in your hips. We'll do one last time. Open all the way up. Deep breath in here. Try to go a little bit further as long as it doesn't cause any pain. And come all the way up and over. We're going to do it on the other side. You can either flip around or flip to the other side of your mat. Same position. Knees together. Hips are stacked. And you're opening up to the opposite side. Very normal for you to feel one side a little different than the other. Just gives us more information on what we want to work on in the future. Deep breath in. Come all the way in. One more time. Open all the way up. We're holding here. Deep breath. Keeping those knees stuck together. Try and go a little tiny bit further. Deep breath in. And come all the way in. All right, I will have you sit all the way up. And then you're going to scoot down, put your legs in a diamond shape here. And then lean forward in a hinged position. We're just stretching out the hips a little bit, coming back up and back down. Not holding this for too long, just a little movement here. And then I'll have you lie all the way down. Legs are still in a diamond. And we'll just take a few deep breaths, get used to the mat here. Feet are together, knees are apart. If you need a little cushion underneath each of your knees to support, you can grab that as well. Deep breaths. Relax those shoulders out of your ears. Relax the jaw. And on your next exhale, we're going to bring both of the feet to the mat. We'll start with some pelvic tilts. So you're going to tuck underneath, pressing your low back onto the mat, and then you're dropping your pelvis down, tailbone down, arching the low back. We're not going to have you tuck and lift just yet. We're just feeling that unlocking of the low back, restoring some of that mobility that you might have lost throughout the day. A few more here. And then I'll have you find that neutral spine. So not all the way tucked and not all the way arched. You're going to find that neutral spine, engage the core. Lift one leg into tabletop, stabilize through those low abs, and you're lifting the other leg into tabletop. You can have your feet pointed or flexed, whatever feels more comfortable to you. If you're experiencing any low back pain here, I would tuck a little bit, pressing your low back into the mat, and bring your knees in towards your chest a little bit more. From here, you're going to hold, feel those low abs kicking in, and you're going to tap one toe down and pick it back up. Tap the other down and pick it back up. Your abs should be really letting that toe go far away and then pulling your leg back in. I don't want it to be just in those hip flexors. Deep breath. Those low abs kicking in, shoulders are relaxed. If you'd like to make it a little bit harder, you can bring your arms up towards the ceiling. Bring two more on each side. And one last one. And put your knees in towards your chest for a stretch. Bring your legs back in the tabletop. We're gonna do both feet down. Now, I don't need you to touch all the way to the floor. I want you to do slow, controlled movement, keeping that core engaged, and then you're just tapping down a bit, and then pulling in with your low abs, and tap, and pull in. No pain here. If you have pain, go back to your single leg movement. And those low abs pulling in, relaxing the jaw, not having our neck being used right now. Let's do 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring it in, rock it out. Legs are back up in tabletop, arms are up towards the ceiling. We're going to do opposite arm and opposite leg. So right now I'm bringing my right arm back, my left arm down, and pulling it back in, and opposite. Finding that diagonal connection throughout the body, similar to when we walk or run. And in. If you'd like to make it a little bit harder, you can extend your leg all the way. And if not, you can keep your leg bent or go back to just the single taps. We're going to do 3 more on each side. And 2. Last one. And pull those knees back in. Great job. Arms up towards the ceiling, legs are in tabletop. We got 2 more here. So you're pulling the knees in towards your chest, over to the left side, down, over to the right, and then pull them back up to the middle. So I call these around the world. You can bring them all the way down and around. And if you'd like to make it a little bit easier, bring your hands or your fingertips down towards the floor. If you want to make it a little bit harder, you'll keep your arms up. You're reaching that knee that's moving around up, 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 and then this one's folding and coming back in. We're going to do 1 more to this side. Pause in the middle, and we're going back down and around, using your abs to pull you back in. Again, finding that balance between stability and mobility. Great job, you got 2 more. Want to make sure you're breathing. We're not holding our breath just to get through these exercises. And pull the knees in. We have 1 last one. From here, we're going to do windshield wipers. So you're going to bring your knees over to the right and back to the middle. I don't want us to be using momentum, tick-tocking back and forth. We're just going to the right and coming back to the middle. Feeling like you're really just tipping over and then pulling back in with those obliques. Not hiking the hip up or down, you're just going over, reaching that left leg right now, up and over to the right. Hands can be up or down, whatever feels best for you. We're doing 1 last one here. And over to the left. Reaching that right leg up and over, coming back in. And again, your hand placement is up to you. Deep breath, reaching. And 1 last one. And come all the way down. You can do a few pelvic tilts, or if you feel like your body needs a specific stretch, go ahead. We're going to come into bridging. So from here, I'd like your legs to be a little wider than hip width apart. Do a few pelvic tilts. And then you're pressing your heels into the floor, peeling your spine up, up, up. Pulling your knees over your toes. Squeezing your glutes. Rolling down vertebrae by vertebrae. And as you get to the top of your bridge, I want to make sure you stay in one plank line. So your shoulder, your hip, and your knee are all in one line. Squeezing the glutes to get you up there and rolling back down. A common movement fault of bridging is pressing into the feet and feeling like all of the weight is going onto your neck and shoulders. Feel like you're pulling your body weight away, and then it really activates the glutes and the hamstrings. We'll do one more like this, and then we're pausing at the top, squeezing the glutes here. We're opening the knees and closing them. Let's go for 9, 8, 7, nothing else is moving above the hip socket. For 5, 4, keep that energy out, reaching out of your knees. 2, and 1. If you can stay up. If you need a break, go all the way down. We're gonna go into the right side only. For 10, feeling that left leg stabilizing and that right rotator working hard. You got it, we're halfway there. And 4, 3, 2, 1. Other side, open for 10. 9, you're pressing that right heel in towards the ground, stabilizing. 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back to neutral. Don't plop down. Roll all the way down. So good. We're coming back up into that bridge, and we're doing 10 dips. So bring your hips down, thrusting back up by squeezing the glutes for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, feel the burn, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, roll all the way down. Great job. We're gonna bring our knees together. So feet together, knees together. You're zipping up your inner thighs, and you're not gonna be able to get as high in your bridge, but I want you to come all the way up and back down. We're just gonna roll through it. If you feel like one spot of your spine is a little stickier than others, take your time. Roll through it. One last time. And on your next one, we're coming up and holding. Stabilize with that left leg, bring your right leg into tabletop, and tap it back down. Other side, and down. We have 4 more of each. If you'd like to stay just doing your double leg bridges, go ahead. And you're finding that your hips are not moving back and forth. You want to feel that stabilization. We have 1 more on each. And roll all the way down. Great job, everyone. If you want to cross one leg over your knee, and then pull it in for a glute stretch. Rock back and forth if that feels good for you. And other side. If this bothers your knee or your hips, you can always cross it over and come in like this instead. All right, both feet back on the mat. We're gonna do a chest lift. So hands come behind the head, and I want you to really cradle your head in your hands. Elbows are not off to the side like this. Bring them up towards the ceiling. And then I want you to peel your spine off the mat, keeping that chin tucked, feeling those upper abs kick in, and coming all the way back down. Think about shooting your elbows up, 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 up towards your knees, and back down. And then peeling up, sternum is sliding down towards your pubic bone as you lift. And this upper ab shake, we'll do 5, 4, 3, 2, and last one, come all the way up and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, come all the way down. We're gonna do obliques. So same exact thing, except this time you're trying to shoot your chest up and over towards your right side. So coming all the way up and over, and all the way back down. Finding those obliques, really good for rotational sports and rotation in general. 4, 5, we're going to 10. 6, if you'd like to make it a little harder, you can bring your arms up and back down. We have 2 more. And last one, come all the way down. Other side. Curling your head, neck, and shoulders up. If this bothers your neck at all, you can press your tongue into the roof of your mouth. It really helps activate those deep neck flexors. You should feel your abs on fire now. We have 5 more, we're halfway done. 3, peeling up. 2, and 1 last one here. Come all the way down. Knees towards the right. Deep breath. And up and over towards the left. So continuing with this chest lift, I want you to lift both legs into tabletop. Bring your knees together, zip those inner thighs up. Curl your head, neck, and shoulders up. Rotate to come into your bicycle. And switch. Switch. We're not trying to go as fast as we can. We want to make controlled movements here. And we're doing 5 more to each side. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. Nice job. Come all the way down. Bring your feet towards the mat. We're going to come up into a sideline position. So I want your elbow to be right underneath your shoulder here. Knees are stacked the same way as our open books. And I don't want you to be chilling here. Let's lift up through the spine, through the trunk. And we're going to do lamb shells here. So I would rather you have less movement than rotating back. So you're strong through your trunk and you're finding that little bit of activation right through here in your side glute. We'll do about 5 more here. And if you want your hands here or in front, whatever feels best for you. And if you are having any neck pain, look down towards your elbow and it can help relieve some of your pain. We're going to come into hydrants, lift and lower for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, you got it, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. I want to reset. So lift up your trunk. Feel like your hip is really stacked on top of the other one. Lift it up. We're doing 10 circles each direction. So you should be really starting to feel it in that side of your glute right here that's facing up right now. Good. We have 3, 2, and 1, and reverse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come all the way down, hit it out, and we're doing one last one. I saved the worst for last. Come all the way in front. Don't let it pull you down. Stack your hip. Turn those toes down towards the floor, and then lift that heel up towards the ceiling. You got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Sit all the way up. Cross your leg over. Pull it in towards the chest and rotate toward it for a stretch through the glute. If that isn't enough for you, then you can increase your reps, or you can put a band around above your knees on your thighs, and it can increase the resistance there. Other side, what we do to one, have to do to the other. Prop up, Lift through here, trunk is lifted. Hips, knees, let's go into clams. And again, not about as far as you can get up, just as much as you can get that activation in your hip. Let's do about 5 more here. The second side is always the hardest. You still feel it on the other side. Good, let's come into our hydrants. So we're lifting knee and ankle here, keeping those legs in kind of a parallel. Good, recheck. Where is your trunk? Are you facing down or facing up? Let's do 3 more. 2 and 1. Come all the way down. We're gonna do our circles now. Reset, lift, and we have 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and reverse. 10, reach that hip away. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come all the way down, hit it out. And our last one, come right in front. Make sure it doesn't pull your trunk down. Turn your toes down, lift your heel up towards the ceiling for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come all the way in, sit up. Cross that leg over, pull it in towards your chest, and rotate towards that glute. Deep breath in and out. Feeling like you're getting a little taller as you rotate. And come all the way in. We're gonna do a few planks to end and then some stretching. You can either stay on your knees for a kneeling plank, or you can come up into your forearm plank. And we're gonna do our knee taps. So lift up and hold, and then we're coming down for a single knee. If you're on your knees now, just holding here in that sustained hold plank. You got 3, 2, last ones, and come all the way down. Open the legs into a child's pose. Back into your plank. Shoulders right above the elbows, hands on the mat. Lift up. Now we're doing double knee taps towards the ground. Tap for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. And come all the way down, open your knees for a child's pose. Sit all the way back. Deep breath in, reach those arms far. And then we'll walk to the right side of the mat. Open up that side body. And then walk to the left side of the mat. Deep breath in. Walk to the center. And then come all the way up. I'm going to show you a kneeling hip flexor stretch that I really like for those of us who are sitting all the time. So come into a kneeling pose here. Bring those bottom toes underneath. You're doing that pelvic tilt that we did at the beginning. And you're shifting forward. You should be feeling that psoas stretch right through the front here. Deep breath. And then relax. You're standing up really tall, tucking under, shifting forward. And if you'd like to bring that arm up and over, you'll get an even deeper stretch all the way through here. Deep breath in. And come down. Let's switch the other side. Bring the bottom toes underneath. You're finding that top position, shearing forward. Deep breath. Find that stretch through the quad, through the thigh, into the hip. And then relax. Last time, tucking under, shearing forward. Bring that arm up and side bend away. Always good to have a little something here, like a couch or a chair. And then come into the middle. I'll have you come down to your mat. We'll do a mermaid stretch. So bring your legs into 90 degrees each. If this is a little bothersome for your hips, bring your knees together like this. Deep breath in, bring your hands to the mat, reach it up and over, finding that side bend, that stretch through your left side body right now. Deep breath and pressed, come back up. One last time like that, up and over. Feeling that hip internal rotation on your left side. And up and a counter stretch. Deep breath in, reach over. And come up, other side. Hands onto the mat, bringing your arm up and over, finding that side bend. Pressing into sitting again. And down. And a counter stretch, other side. I want you to sit up tall, bring your legs back into our crisscross pose. Roll your shoulders back, grab behind you, kind of feel if you feel any different than before. Opening up the chest, look up towards the ceiling, grab and lift. Round the spine once more. Sit up tall, and thank you guys for joining me tonight for my mat Pilates class. Thanks, Jordan, for having me.
Oh my God, that was, I'm seriously was down here on my office floor, like twisting all over the place. That was awesome. And I think the take home, aside from that, was spectacular, was it's so much about, you know, we were talking in the Q&A at the beginning about spinal mobility and spinal strength. And there was so much of both of those things in there that was great. We're just looking at these. Go ahead and write your quotes, guys, in the chats. You guys can go ahead and tell Brittany how awesome that was. That's one of the best classes we have had. So Harriet and the Soloways from down in Greenwich Village, and Herbert Perez says his back is so happy. And Yolanda says that was amazing. Giuseppe, Dominic, wonderful. So just look at these comments pouring in on the chat. That was really awesome. So first of all, thank you so much. That really was terrific and different than yoga. I mean, it's a different kind of thing. It's much more mobility and strength, and they're very complementary.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, one of my favorite things is once you really start getting into your Pilates practice, we can get you props, we can make things easier, we can make things harder, kind of dependent on your ability level that you want for your function. So.
Well, we loved having you. Hopefully you will, can we sign you up for later in the year?
I would love that.
All right. We loved it. Thank you so much, and we'll be in touch, and we'll be posting these in all the places. Brittany and Ellen and all of you from everywhere. Thank you so much. And just look at these comments come pouring in. People are going crazy. They loved it. So thank you a zillion.
Private class. I do private classes. I do virtual sessions as well. So
yeah, we'll definitely forward on some comments. I'm sure you'll get it done, and I'm sure you're going to get a lot of interest, and we really, really appreciated it.
Well, thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.